All right, this project, it's going to start off with the finished project here, as you can see. Little background on how I went about this project becoming a project. My son bought me a badger hair shaving brush for my birthday a couple of months ago, and great. I didn't have a shaving bowl to put any shaving soap in. So I figured, got a piece of 8/4 maple. Let me hack a piece off and see what I can come up with. So here it is. It's all done. So even though I'm showing it now, the video will coming will show you everybody how I made this without conventional wood turning tools. I only have a couple of small gouges, stuff for like making pens. So really not big enough to really handle anything of this size. I used a series of hole saws, and I did put it on the lathe, and I used a sander and a couple of different techniques to complete this. So if you guys are interested, take that out and put that in there. If you guys are interested, I invite you to stick around and watch the video. Got a piece of 2-inch thick maple, and got a 4 1/4 inch hole saw. Starrett, of course, and I'm going to drill down a bit. Now I'm going to take the pilot out eventually because I don't want to drill all the way through. Let's get started on this. I'm sure this is going to be a long, tedious, and probably smelly operation, because whenever you cut wood, especially with a hole saw, seems to be some burning going on. Now, I tried to get this as close to the edge. I don't want to skimp too much because I want to make sure I get the full inner diameter on that. But I'm hoping that by coming close to the edge, it may break through and have a place for some of the chips to exit, to minimize burning. So, well, let's go, guys. Okay, so now I put a 3-inch hole saw in there. I left the pilot bit out again, and we're going to drill this down. That'll give us the outer constraints, or that'll be the diameter for the soap itself. Is the soap, so that's pretty much about the diameter that'll fit in. So alright, let's get going. Okay, so I think the next step will be with my Forstner bit, and we'll clean that up. We'll put that right inside the middle there and hog all that out. Alright, so let's get this drill bit out of here. And, well, that's a little on the warm side. So, alright, so a little chisel action in here. There we go. Okay, so let's get that cleaned out. And let's see, salt will fit in there. Got this all cleaned out. Now I started with successively smaller hole saws without the arbor or without the pilot bit in there, and I hogged when I got down to I think 2.5 it was. I have a big Forstner bit, and I hogged most of the material out there. And with the chisel I chipped away at the remnants of the concentric ring that was left from in between the sizes, and I used, let me zoom out a little bit here, see if we can get everything in. And then I used my angle grinder with a sanding disc on there, and went around and took everything down and left it fairly smooth. I still got a lot of sanding to do on this thing, but I did that outside because of the amount of sawdust was. You can over at the scroll saw here, and I'm just going to go around and break this free from here. So. This is noisy. Well, actually, this is it's messy, noisy. Well, son of a gun, it's kind of working. Gotta see if I got maybe like a small drum sander I could stick in the angle grinder. Get a little bit more of a curve in here. But I don't know if you can see the profile yet. Let's see here. It's just so awkward with the lathe. Okay. So bring it in a little bit here. So, I mean, you know, it's not the easiest thing getting this flat disc in here. You know, try to get a contour in here. This is kind of hard. But thinking maybe like a little drum sander. I might have something. Okay, so I found one of those sanding drums you stick on the end of your electric drill. So this puppy's going to spin a little quicker than the electric drill. So let's see what's going to happen. Yeah, I'll try to get you in view here. All right. Okay, kind of like that shape, and now just got to do a little round over work in here, and I'm thinking just a good old router bit, and the router. And finally some 220. You seen me sand everything down, starting with 100 grit, and progressed my way through to 220, and then off camera I had some 320, so I went over that, chucked this back up in the lathe, and spun it, and I just hand sanded it on the lathe. So now I want to put a little bit of a round over on this inside edge. So the easiest way to do that, to facilitate that, would be to use my round over bit in the router. Balancing the router on top of this might be a little hairy. I'd like to do it outside, but the router table is probably the best bet. So took me about 5 minutes to get everything cleaned off, get this set up, and take me 10 seconds to cut that, and probably an hour to clean up afterwards. So, all right, let's get going. Okay, so you just saw me do this inside edge here, and I don't know if, for those who don't understand how these router bits work, there's a ball bearing which is a guide, so this rides right up against the edge, and it keeps the router bit at a uniform distance from the edge. So as it's spinning, the bearing's riding against the edge here. So this put a nice curve in here. I like that, and I'd like to transfer it to the outside as well. But the problem here will be, I don't know if you guys can see this, is the bearing is gonna, it's not really in line. I got to bring this down to here, and this bearing, it's not, you know, it's going to come in way too deep here. I kind of want to just round this over and keep it about here. So I'm gonna put a fence on the router table. Bring you in here, and so when I move this over, this will keep the distance from the router bit. This will be on this side. The router bit will be in here, so this will keep this edge a uniform distance, and just put that round over on there. So I'll get everything all set up here, and I'll bring you back when I'm ready to turn on the router. Alright, this is this little safety thing. If there's one tool that you should be extra careful with, I always consider it to be the router. I always unplug the router whenever I change a bit. All the tools and equipment that I use, believe it or not, this thing scares me the most. When this thing starts up, there's so much torque, this thing could spin out of your hand, lose control, you don't know where it's going to go. So always unplug it. Okay, so here we have the fence set up, and this will prevent it from going in too far. I just got to slowly push this in and turn this along, and the router will hopefully cut that with a nice uniform cut. So let's get the router turned on. Alright, I like that. I'm just going to hit it again with some sandpaper, just, you know, clean up that little fuzz on there. Okay, so, alright, I already got a couple of coats of some polyurethane on there, and this will be the fourth coat, and so I was going to save everybody the boredom of watching me put polyurethane on here, but I guess it's still more exciting than actually watching it dry. So, all right.